I'm so glad you're joining me today. This is Pastor Greg Mayhorn, and I want to thank you for listening and watching. We're talking about faith, the laws that govern faith, how it works. There are three major spiritual laws that we must learn about if we're going to operate in the power of God in our lives on any consistent basis. The first is the law of love. The second is the law of faith. And the third is the law of sowing and reaping. And of course, we're talking about faith, and that's one of those important subjects that everybody needs to know about. We're looking at Mark 11, and we've already covered verse 22 to some extent. Jesus answered and said to them, "Have faith in God." And so he was saying to us that we need to have the God kind of faith, the same kind of faith that God has, and the same kind of faith, the only kind of faith that God gives. And of course, the key to this is Romans 10:17 as far as getting faith, because that's the simple verse in the Bible that tells us how faith comes. And it's not by prayer. It's not by fasting, even though those two things are very important. It's not by any other means except one, and that is by hearing, and hearing by the Word of God. And so it's very important what we hear. And of course, if that's important, then that means it's important who we hear. Who are we listening to? Who are the voices that we allow into our lives? We're in a world today where there are a multitude of voices. I mean, we have all these television channels, we have all this internet media outlets, all these different social media sites, so-called news sites, all kinds of things. I mean, you can't consume it all. There's so much. And so what that means is we have to choose. Now, some people don't really make conscious choices. They kind of unconsciously listen to whatever happens to be on, whatever is going on around them. And I want to encourage you not to do that, because that's a way to hear a lot of junk you don't need to hear. That's a way to get a lot of ideas in your head that you don't need there. That's a way to get confused. That's a way to not have your faith built. We have to choose our spiritual diet, the things we feed our spirit on, because the same way that natural food feeds your body, so spiritual food feeds your spirit. And of course, the key is hearing the Word of God. Now, I've been saved a long, long time. I've been in ministry a long time. And one of the things I still do is constantly feed my faith. I choose who I'm going to listen to, and I feed my faith on information that's going to help me, that's going to teach me, that's going to bring revelation to me. And also, the foundation for this is to start with the Word of God, to start with hearing the Word. And one of the things that I have enjoyed doing, and that we get to do that generations past couldn't do, is to open my Bible on my phone or my iPad or whatever, and click it to an audio version, and I can read it at the same time someone is reading it to me. In other words, I'm getting two areas of my senses are being impacted by the Word of God: my sight and my hearing. And of course, all this filtering through my brain, and the Word of God, because it's supernatural, it's different than any other book in the world, it actually goes deep into your spirit. And when you get that Word in you like that, then faith comes. And when faith comes, you're ready to release the power of God into your circumstance to change it. And that's what we'll talk about next week, how to release it.